The Provocation. The Kepler-22 Bits colony was a paradise, humanity's shining achievement in the vastness of space. Lush green fields, crystal-clear rivers, and towering cities stood as a testament to human resilience and innovation. Families thrived, children played under the twin suns, and scientists marveled at the planet's natural beauty. It was humanity's beacon of hope in the galaxy, until the day the Galactic Council's fleet arrived. The sky over Kepler-22 Bits darkened as massive alien warships loomed overhead. Their engines roared like a thunderstorm, shaking the very ground. Residents of the colony stared up in disbelief, watching as alien crafts began to descend. The Galactic Council, a coalition of advanced species, had always claimed superiority over primitive humans. Despite years of peaceful coexistence, they saw Earth's colonies as an encroachment on their territory. Without warning, the aliens fired their weapons. Explosions ripped through the fields and cities. People screamed as buildings crumbled, and fires spread rapidly. The aliens claimed they were reclaiming the planet, but to the colonists, it was nothing short of a massacre. The once thriving paradise was reduced to smoke and ash within hours. Amid the chaos, a group of survivors huddled in an underground bunker. Among them was Captain Ethan Carter, a seasoned military officer stationed at the colony. His face was grim as he watched the destruction unfold on the bunker's monitors. Alien soldiers were rounding up survivors, herding them like cattle. Kepler-22 Bits had been caught off guard, and there was no chance of fighting back. Not yet. "This is madness," Ethan muttered, clenching his fists. They didn't even issue a warning. Beside him, a young technician named Mira struggled to keep the communication systems online. "Sir, we've managed to send a distress signal to Earth, but the Council has jammed most of our transmissions. I don't know if anyone heard us." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Earth will hear us," he said firmly. "And they'll respond. They always do." In the capital city, an alien commander named Varkle stood atop the ruins of the colony's central plaza, his reptilian features twisted into a satisfied grin as he surveyed the devastation. "Humans are weak," he declared to his officers. "They spread across the galaxy like weeds, but they cannot stand against us. This colony is ours now." One of his officers hesitated. "Commander, the humans sent a distress signal. What if their military retaliates?" Varkle laughed, a harsh guttural sound. "Retaliate? With what? Their fleets are outdated, their technology laughable. By the time they muster a response, we'll have fortified this planet. They won't dare challenge us." But deep underground, Ethan was already planning. He activated a secure communication channel, bypassing the alien jammers. His message was simple but chilling. To Earth Command, Kepler-22 Bits is under attack. Colony destroyed. Civilians captured. Request immediate retaliation. Earth Command received the message hours later, and when they did, the response was swift. In the shadows of humanity's thriving civilization, preparations had long been underway for moments like this. While the Galactic Council mocked human technology, they were unaware of the secret advancements made in Earth's hidden shipyards. As Earth's leaders reviewed the footage of Kepler-22 Bits' destruction, their expressions turned cold. President Elena Hayes, a stern woman with years of wartime experience, addressed her council. This wasn't just an attack on a colony. It was an act of war. The council thinks humanity will cower. They think we'll beg for peace, but they're wrong. Admiral Marcus Drake, head of Earth's military, nodded. "We've kept our fleet hidden for too long. It's time to show the galaxy what we're capable of." Back on Kepler-22 Bits, alien soldiers continued to loot and burn what remained of the colony. Varkle, drunk on his perceived victory, ordered his forces to prepare for the planet's complete takeover. But in the distance, a faint rumble echoed through the air. Survivors in the bunker heard it first, a low, ominous sound that grew louder with each passing moment. "What is that?" Mira asked, her eyes wide. Ethan's lips curled into a grim smile. It's a promise. In orbit above Kepler-22 bits, a single human warship emerged from the shadows of a nearby moon. Sleek, black, and bristling with weapons, it was unlike anything the aliens had seen before. The ship didn't open fire or announce itself. Instead, it transmitted a message on all frequencies. The voice was calm, but carried a warning that sent chills down every listener's spine. You've made a grave mistake. The alien fleet turned its weapons toward the lone ship, confident in their superior numbers. Varkle barked orders to fire, but before the first volley could be launched, the human ship vanished. It slipped into the blackness of space, leaving only the ominous message behind. In the bunker, Ethan and the survivors heard the transmission. For the first time since the attack began, a spark of hope lit their eyes. Ethan stood tall, his voice steady as he addressed the group. "They think we're weak," he said. "They think we'll run. But they don't know humanity like we do. Earth will come, and when they do, the galaxy will learn what it means to anger the wrong species." The provocation had been made, and humanity's response was already in motion. The Galactic Council had no idea what was coming. Silent preparation. The Galactic Council had underestimated humanity, but for now, the Sol system remained eerily silent. The attack on Kepler-22 bits spread through alien news networks, each broadcast painting humans as weak, desperate, and broken. The Council declared their dominance, claiming victory over the so-called upstart species. But deep within Earth's shadowed corridors and hidden military facilities, the reality was far different. On the outskirts of Jupiter's orbit, the massive human space station, Perseus, hummed with activity. Engineers and soldiers worked tirelessly, assembling the most advanced weaponry and ships humanity had ever built. Shielded by the intense radiation of Jupiter, Perseus had been hidden from prying eyes for decades. Here, Earth's brightest minds had designed weapons capable of turning the tide of any war. In the station's command center, Admiral Marcus Drake stood before a large tactical display. His sharp eyes scanned the holographic map of the galaxy, pinpointing the movements of the Galactic Council's forces. Beside him, Dr. Alina Patel, the chief scientist of Earth's Advanced Weapons Division, brought up a series of schematics. "They think we're cowards," Marcus said, his voice low and deliberate. "They think we'll sit back and take their attacks without a response." Dr. Patel adjusted her glasses, her expression grim. "Let them think that, Admiral. Their arrogance is their greatest weakness." Marcus nodded. "How long until the fleet is ready?" Dr. Patel smiled faintly, her tone laced with quiet confidence. "The Erebus is complete. It's ready for deployment. And the new dreadnoughts, they'll be operational in a week. Once we mobilize, the galaxy won't know what hit them." The Erebus was humanity's ace, a stealth superweapon built for precision strikes and devastating retaliation. Unlike anything the galaxy had seen, it was the culmination of years of secret development. Equipped with advanced cloaking technology, adaptive AI, and weapons that could bypass alien shields, it was designed to strike fear into even the most powerful enemies. While Earth prepared, whispers of strange activity reached the Galactic Council. Their spies reported unusual energy readings near Jupiter's moons and sightings of large objects moving in the asteroid belt. These reports, however, were dismissed as rumors. "They're bluffing," scoffed Ambassador Thraxel during a council meeting. His scaled fingers tapped impatiently on the table. "Humans don't have the resources to oppose us. This so-called activity is nothing more than their attempt to save face." Another counselor, a tall, insectoid alien named Sylar, clicked her mandibles in agreement. The Kepler-22 bits operation proved their weakness. They lost an entire colony in a single day. Let them whisper in the shadows. It changes nothing. But not everyone was so sure. In a darkened corner of the council chamber, Commander Sarek, an experienced military strategist, observed the arrogance of his peers in silence. He had studied humanity for years, and something about their quiet response unsettled him. "They're too quiet," Sarek finally spoke, his voice cutting through the council's chatter. Humans are resourceful. If they're not responding openly, it's because they're preparing something. Thraxel rolled his eyes. You give them too much credit, Commander. They're ants before a storm. Ants can be dangerous when provoked, Sarek replied, his tone sharp. I suggest we increase our patrols near Earth's borders. If they retaliate, we need to be ready. Back on Earth, the quiet preparation continued. Factories on Mars worked day and night, producing new weapons and armor. Shipyards in the asteroid belt assembled fleets of stealth fighters, each designed for speed and precision. Humanity's allies, though few, began to rally in secret, sending resources and intelligence to aid in the counterattack. In one of Earth's military bunkers, Captain Ethan Carter sat in a dimly lit room, watching footage of the Kepler-22 Bits massacre. Every explosion, every scream, every alien soldier trampling through the wreckage replayed in his mind. His hands tightened into fists, the scars from the battle still fresh on his face. A holographic call interrupted his thoughts. Admiral Marcus Drake's imposing figure appeared before him. Captain Carter, the Admiral began, his voice steady. I've reviewed your report. Your team fought bravely on Kepler-22 Bits. You've earned the right to lead the first wave. Ethan straightened, determination burning in his eyes. What's the mission, sir? Admiral Drake's expression darkened. We've located the Council's forward operating base in the Gamma sector. You'll take the Erebus and ensure they understand the cost of provoking us. Ethan nodded. Understood, sir. They'll regret underestimating us. Meanwhile, in the depths of space, the Erebus floated silently near Jupiter's shadow, its black hull blending seamlessly with the void. The crew, hand-picked for their skills and loyalty, trained tirelessly for the mission. Among them was Mira, the young technician who had survived the Kepler-22 Bits attack. Her resolve was unshakable. She had seen what the aliens were capable of, and now she was ready to fight back. As the final preparations were made, Earth transmitted a single message to the Galactic Council. The voice was calm but resolute, carrying the weight of an entire species' fury. You've mistaken our silence for weakness. Prepare yourselves. The message was met with laughter by the Council, but Commander Sarek felt a chill run down his spine. Humanity's silence wasn't weakness. It was the calm before the storm. The pieces were moving, and humanity's retaliation was about to begin. The galaxy, blinded by its own arrogance, had no idea what awaited them. First strike. The Galactic Council's fleet patrolled the Sol system's edge, a show of dominance meant to intimidate the humans. Dozens of alien warships floated in formation, their sleek designs glowing faintly against the black void. They were confident, smug even. Humanity had yet to mount any resistance since the fall of Kepler-22 Bits. Commander Varkle stood aboard his flagship, the Vanguard Ascendant, watching the human system through a tactical display. His reptilian eyes narrowed as he issued orders to his officers. Push closer to Mars. Let's see if these primitives dare to stop us. His officers complied without question, moving the fleet into what they believed was an uncontested zone. They laughed among themselves, mocking humanity's lack of action. Varkle smirked. The Galactic Council had crushed countless civilizations before, and Earth would be no different. But humanity was not silent. Hidden in the asteroid belt, the stealth ship Erebus lay in wait. Its black hull absorbed all light, rendering it nearly invisible even at close range. Inside, Captain Ethan Carter and his crew sat in tense silence. Every member of the team knew the stakes. They were about to execute the first strike against a force far larger than their own. Ethan's voice cut through the silence. Status report. Mira, now the ship's lead technician, worked swiftly at her console. Cloaking is stable. Target lock on the Vanguard Ascendant confirmed. All systems are green. Ethan nodded, his jaw set. Good. Begin Phase 1. The Erebus's advanced AI hummed to life. calculating precise trajectories and weaknesses in the alien fleet's formation. A low, almost inaudible vibration filled the ship as its weapons came online. Unlike anything the galaxy had seen, these weapons used gravitational distortions to bypass shields entirely, tearing apart targets from within. "We're ready, Captain," Mira said, her voice steady despite the tension. Ethan's lips curled into a grim smile. "Let's remind them why they should fear us." Fire. A pulse of energy shot from the Erebus, invisible to the naked eye but devastating in its impact. The first target, a mid-sized alien cruiser, crumpled like paper, its hull folding inward before exploding in a silent burst of debris. The destruction was so sudden, so precise, that for a moment, the alien fleet didn't realize what had happened. On the Vanguard Ascendant, alarms blared as officers scrambled to make sense of the attack. "Commander Varkil," an officer shouted, "one of our cruisers has been destroyed. We're detecting nothing. No projectile, no energy signature." Varkil's confidence faltered. "That's impossible. Find the source." Before they could react, the Erebus struck again. This time, two smaller ships disintegrated in perfect unison, their fragments scattering across space. Panic spread through the alien ranks as more ships fell, each destroyed by an unseen force. "They're ghosts," one alien officer cried. "We can't detect them." Varkil snarled, his claws digging into the armrest of his command chair. "Silence. Deploy the trackers. Flush them out." Back on the Erebus, Ethan watched the chaos unfold on the tactical display. Alien ships broke formation, moving erratically in a desperate attempt to evade an enemy they couldn't see. It was working perfectly. "Captain," Mira said, her voice tinged with urgency, "they're deploying drones to sweep the area. Our cloaking might not hold against direct scans." Ethan didn't hesitate. "Activate Phase 2. Let's give them something to chase." The Erebus launched a series of decoy drones, each programmed to mimic its energy signature. The drones scattered in different directions, confusing the alien fleet further. Several alien ships broke off to pursue the decoys, wasting precious resources on phantom targets. Varkil's frustration boiled over. Enough of this cowardice. Find their command ship and destroy it. But the humans were always one step ahead. As the alien fleet scrambled to regain control, the Erebus maneuvered into position for its final strike. Its target, the Vanguard Ascendant. "Target locked," Mira confirmed. Ethan stared at the tactical display, his hand hovering over the controls. For a brief moment, he thought of Kepler 22 bits, the burning cities, the screams of his people. His resolve hardened. Fire. The Erebus unleashed its full power, a concentrated gravitational pulse aimed directly at the alien flagship. The Vanguard Ascendant shuddered violently as its hull buckled and split apart. Varkil's last command was drowned out by the roar of the ship's destruction. In seconds, the flagship was gone, leaving nothing but a massive debris field. The remaining alien ships hesitated, their commanders unsure whether to retreat or fight back. The humans gave them no choice. From the asteroid belt, a second wave of stealth ships emerged, each one striking with deadly precision. The alien fleet was decimated. As the battle ended, the Erebus transmitted a single message to the survivors. "Leave, and tell your council what happens when you provoke humanity." The alien ships that survived fled at full speed, carrying the warning back to the Galactic Council. For the first time, the galaxy would learn that humanity was not to be trifled with. On board the Erebus, the crew let out a collective breath of relief. Ethan turned to Mira, his voice calm but resolute. "This was just the beginning," he said. "The galaxy thinks they've seen our strength. They haven't seen anything yet." The humans had struck back, and their message was clear. The Galactic Council's arrogance had blinded them, but now the tide was beginning to turn. The galaxy's balance of power would never be the same. Humanity's secret weapon. The Galactic Council was in turmoil. News of the human counterattack spread like wildfire, shaking the confidence of even the most steadfast species. The destruction of the Vanguard Ascendant and its fleet wasn't just a loss, it was an embarrassment. No species in the Council's history had ever turned such an overwhelming show of force into a rout. In the Council chamber, voices clashed as leaders from dozens of alien civilizations argued over how to respond. Commander Sarek, now one of the few voices urging caution, stood at the center of the chaos. "They've developed weapons we can't detect or counter," Sarek warned, his voice firm. "If we underestimate them again, we risk the stability of the entire Council." Ambassador Thraxel scoffed, his claws tapping impatiently on the polished table. "It was a fluke, Commander. Humans cannot match the technological superiority of the Council. They were lucky." Sarek's gaze hardened. Luck doesn't destroy flagships. This was strategy, and it was deliberate. But the Council was divided, some pushing for an immediate strike, others advocating for diplomacy. What none of them realized was that humanity had no intention of waiting for their decision. Far from the bickering of alien diplomats, Earth's leaders were already planning their next move. In a hidden military facility on Mars, Admiral Marcus Drake stood before a massive holographic display of the galaxy. Beside him, Dr. Alina Patel presented the culmination of years of secret research. Erebus was only the beginning. "Our adversaries believe the Erebus is our greatest weapon," Dr. Patel began, her voice steady but filled with excitement. "They're wrong. What we've been building here will redefine warfare in the galaxy." The holographic display shifted, revealing a massive structure in orbit around Neptune. It was a ship, but unlike any ship the galaxy had ever seen. Nearly twice the size of any existing dreadnought, it bristled with weapons and advanced systems. Its name was simple but foreboding: Leviathan. Admiral Drake's expression was unreadable as he examined the schematics. "Tell me it's operational." Dr. Patel nodded. "It's more than operational. The Leviathan is equipped with a quantum shield matrix, rendering it impervious to conventional energy weapons. Its gravity-based arsenal can destroy entire fleets in a single engagement, and its AI, overseen by a human commander, ensures split-second tactical decisions." Marcus turned to Captain Ethan Carter, who had been brought in for the briefing. "Ethan, I want you commanding the Leviathan. You've proven yourself capable." Ethan's eyes widened, but he quickly recovered. "I won't let you down, sir." Dr. Patel added, "We'll also be deploying our newest stealth corvettes as escorts. Their cloaking capabilities have been upgraded since the Erebus engagement. Together, they'll form a strike group that no enemy can match." As the room filled with murmurs of approval, Admiral Drake issued the final order: "Prepare the Leviathan. We're not waiting for them to attack again." In a dark corner of the galaxy, the Galactic Council's forward base in the Gamma Sector was a hive of activity. Alien ships patrolled the area, their crews on edge after recent events. Commander Sarek, sent to oversee the base's defenses, reviewed reports from his scouts. The humans were too quiet, and it unsettled him. "Double the patrols," Sarek ordered. "Focus on scanning for cloaked vessels. If the humans are coming, I want to know before they arrive." His officers complied, but there was no way for them to prepare for what was about to happen. Hours later, the Leviathan emerged from the darkness, its massive frame dwarfing everything in its path. It didn't announce its arrival or give any warning. Instead, it unleashed a single gravitational pulse that collapsed the Council's primary defensive platform. The shockwave rippled through space, disabling dozens of nearby ships. On board the Leviathan, Ethan stood on the command deck, watching the chaos unfold through the viewscreen. His orders were clear: neutralize the base, but leave survivors to carry the message. "Target the fleet's flagship," Ethan commanded. "Let's show them what the Leviathan can do." The ship's primary weapon, a gravitational lance, fired with pinpoint accuracy. The alien flagship, a massive vessel that had once symbolized the Council's strength, was torn apart in seconds. Its destruction sent a ripple of fear through the remaining fleet. Commander Sarek watched the devastation from his own ship, his worst fears realized. "Retreat," he shouted to his officers. "Get word to the Council. This is not a fight we can win." But humanity wasn't done. As the Leviathan continued its assault, the stealth corvettes deployed by Earth's forces targeted key installations on the base. Explosions lit up the darkness as alien systems failed one by one. Within an hour, the base was in ruins, and the surviving ships had fled. Ethan issued the final command. "Transmit the message." Across the sector, a recording played on all frequencies. Ethan's voice, calm and unwavering, echoed through the void. "You provoked us. You destroyed our colony. And now you've seen the consequences. This isn't just about Earth. It's about survival. If you attack us again, we won't stop until the Council falls." As the remnants of the alien fleet retreated, the galaxy began to understand the scope of humanity's capabilities. Earth had shown not just strength, but ingenuity and resolve. For the Galactic Council, the illusion of superiority was shattered. For humanity, the war was only beginning. The turning point. The Galactic Council was reeling. The destruction of their forward base in the Gamma sector had left their fleets scattered and disorganized. Survivors spoke of a colossal human warship, the Leviathan, that could dismantle entire armadas with terrifying precision. Fear spread like wildfire, igniting doubts among the Council's member species. Humanity, once considered a minor annoyance, was now the galaxy's most dangerous adversary. In the Council's Grand Chamber, the atmosphere was tense. Holographic images of the Leviathan floated above the central table, its black, angular design a stark reminder of human ingenuity. The once boastful Ambassador Thraxel now looked uneasy, his usual smugness replaced by a nervous twitch in his claws. "We cannot allow this thing to continue unchecked," Thraxel growled, slamming a scaled fist on the table. "If we do not act now, humanity will become unstoppable." Commander Sarek, the Council's most seasoned strategist, spoke calmly but with authority. "And what would you propose, Ambassador? Throwing more fleets at them? They've dismantled everything we've sent so far." Ambassador Xylar, the insectoid diplomat, clicked her mandibles thoughtfully. "Perhaps it's time to consider alternatives. Diplomacy, perhaps." Thraxel hissed in disgust. "Diplomacy? With primitives? Never." Sarek's sharp gaze silenced him. "Primitives don't build ships like the Leviathan. It's time we stopped underestimating them. If we continue on this path, the Council itself may not survive." But the Council was divided. Some species, fearful of humanity's rising power, called for peace. Others, clinging to their pride, demanded retribution. Unbeknownst to them, their internal fractures were already being exploited. On Earth, Admiral Marcus Drake reviewed intercepted communications from the Council. His analysts had spent weeks deciphering alien encryption, and the findings were exactly what he had hoped for. The Council was splintering. Dr. Alina Patel stood beside him, pointing to a holographic display. "Several species within the Council are questioning their alliance. Some have even reached out to us in secret, offering intelligence in exchange for protection." Admiral Drake's eyes narrowed. "And can we trust them?" "Not entirely," Dr. Patel admitted. "But we don't need to. Their internal discord is a weapon in itself." Drake nodded. "Then we'll use it. It's time to strike at the Council's core." Meanwhile, Captain Ethan Carter and the crew of the Leviathan prepared for their next mission. This time, their target wasn't a fleet or a base. It was the Galactic Council itself. The plan was simple but audacious. Disrupt the Council's operations by targeting their communication hub, a heavily fortified station in neutral space known as Unity Nexus. The Leviathan arrived at the edge of the Nexus's system, cloaked and undetectable. Ethan stood on the bridge, his crew waiting for his command. "Mira," Ethan said, addressing the ship's lead technician. "Status." "Cloaking is stable," Mira replied, her fingers dancing across the console. "We're reading multiple defensive platforms around the station. Their fleet is small but heavily armed. Ethan nodded. Good. Let's make it smaller. The Leviathan moved silently into position, its advanced AI calculating every trajectory and vulnerability. With a single command, its weapons came to life. The first strike was swift and devastating, a gravitational pulse that disabled the station's primary shields and power systems. Defensive platforms erupted in a cascade of explosions, leaving the Nexus exposed. Inside the station, chaos reigned. Council technicians scrambled to restore power as alarms blared through the corridors. Ambassador Thraxel, who had been present for a routine meeting, found himself trapped in a collapsing chamber. "They're here." Thraxel screamed into a communicator. "The humans are attacking the Nexus. Send reinforcements." But reinforcements weren't coming. Humanity's stealth corvettes had intercepted and disabled incoming Council ships, cutting off all escape routes. The Nexus was defenseless. Ethan's voice echoed through the Nexus's emergency broadcast system. Calm, deliberate, and unmistakably human, it carried the weight of the entire species. "You thought we were weak. You thought we were divided. But you've underestimated humanity for the last time. Surrender now, or face complete destruction." The message was clear, and its impact was immediate. Inside the Nexus, several Council delegates began to panic. Some ordered their forces to stand down, unwilling to risk annihilation. Others, like Thraxel, refused to concede, even as the station's defenses crumbled around them. Commander Sarek, stationed on a nearby ship, watched the events unfold through a tactical display. Unlike his peers, he understood what was happening. Humanity wasn't just attacking, they were dismantling the Council's unity, piece by piece. Admiral Sarek, one of his officers, said hesitantly, "Should we intervene?" Sarek shook his head, a grim expression on his face. "No, the Council's arrogance led us here. Let them reap the consequences." As the Nexus fell, the Leviathan transmitted one final message to the galaxy. "The Council claimed to protect peace, but they brought war to our doorstep. To the species of the galaxy, we are not your enemies, but we will not be your victims. Choose wisely." The message spread far and wide, reaching even the most remote corners of the galaxy. For some, it was a rallying cry, a chance to side with humanity against an increasingly fractured Council. For others, it was a dire warning of humanity's growing dominance. Back aboard the Leviathan, Ethan stood on the bridge, his expression resolute. "We've shaken the Council, but this is far from over. They'll either come for us with everything they have, or they'll crumble under their own weight." Mira glanced up from her console. "And if they choose to fight?" Ethan's lips curled into a grim smile. "Then we show them the full extent of what humanity can do." The fall of the Nexus marked a turning point in the war. The Galactic Council, once a symbol of unshakable power, was now fractured and vulnerable. And humanity, rising from the ashes of Kepler-22 bits, was on the path to becoming the galaxy's new superpower. The trap. The Galactic Council was cornered, but desperation often breeds dangerous decisions. Fractured and humiliated, they knew that if humanity continued its relentless campaign, the Council would cease to exist. The remaining loyalist factions devised a plan, a trap so audacious that even humanity's cunning might not escape it. In the shadowy depths of Council space, a massive operation began. The plan revolved around a single objective: lure the Leviathan and humanity's elite forces into an ambush. To ensure success, they constructed a decoy, a sprawling shipyard designed to appear as if it were producing a new generation of Council warships. The real purpose, however, was to draw Earth's forces into a kill zone. Commander Sarek, though reluctant, was tasked with overseeing the operation. He had opposed the plan, calling it reckless and short-sighted, but the Council's leaders dismissed his concerns. "You've seen what they can do," Sarek argued in a closed meeting with the Council. "Humanity adapts. They learn. If this fails, we'll have handed them victory on a silver platter." Ambassador Thraxel sneered, his confidence returning after the humiliation at Unity Nexus. It won't fail. This time, we control the battlefield. Sarek's claws tapped the table, frustration visible on his face. And if they see through it? Thraxel's smile widened. Then we'll use our insurance. Far away, aboard the Leviathan, Earth's military command studied intelligence reports about the supposed shipyard. The decoy was convincing. Dozens of ships, massive energy outputs, and troop movements all suggested a critical target. But Admiral Marcus Drake wasn't fooled. "It's too perfect," Drake said, his voice cutting through the briefing room. "They're practically begging us to attack." Dr. Alina Patel, standing beside him, nodded. "Agreed. The energy readings are real, but the patterns are suspiciously consistent, almost like they're being broadcasted deliberately." Captain Ethan Carter leaned forward, his gaze locked on the holographic display. "If it's a trap, then we spring it. On our terms." Drake raised an eyebrow. "Go on." Ethan gestured to the map. "The Council thinks they're the hunters. Let's make them the prey. We can use the Leviathan as bait and deploy stealth forces around the perimeter. When they move in, we hit them from every angle." Drake smiled grimly. "It's risky, but it might just work." "Do it." The trap was set, but not in the way the Council expected. The Leviathan and its escorts approached the decoy shipyard, their massive profiles unmistakable. On the Council's command ship, Commander Sarek watched as humanity's fleet arrived on schedule. "They've taken the bait," one of his officers announced. Sarek didn't reply. Something about the humans' approach unsettled him. They weren't rushing in, as the Council had anticipated. Their formation was disciplined, methodical, and deliberate. It didn't feel like overconfidence. It felt like a plan. "Hold fire," Sarek ordered. "Let them move closer." Ambassador Thraxel's hologram flickered to life on the bridge. "What are you waiting for, Sarek? Destroy them." Sarek glared at the projection. "Patience, Ambassador. If we act too soon, we risk exposing ourselves." But before the Council's fleet could act, the Leviathan transmitted a single chilling message. "We see you." Panic rippled through the Council's ranks. Hidden stealth ships emerged from the void, surrounding the ambush fleet. The Erebus led the charge, striking key targets with surgical precision. Explosions rippled through the Council's formation as their carefully laid trap unraveled. Sarek's officers scrambled to respond, but it was already too late. The humans had anticipated every move. The decoy shipyard, rigged with explosives to serve as a last-ditch effort, was neutralized before it could detonate. On the Leviathan, Ethan issued the final command. "Bring the hammer down." The Leviathan's gravitational lance fired, ripping through the Council's command ship. The massive vessel fractured, its pieces spiraling into the void. Among the wreckage, Commander Sarek's escape pod drifted silently, his face a mix of frustration and grudging respect. The ambush had failed spectacularly. The Council's fleet was shattered, their remaining ships fleeing into deep space. On Earth, the victory was celebrated, but Admiral Drake remained cautious. "This isn't over," he said to Dr. Patel in a private meeting. "The Council won't stop until they have nothing left to lose." Dr. Patel nodded. "Then we need to ensure they never get the chance." As the survivors regrouped in a hidden Council outpost, a battered Sarek addressed the remaining leaders. "We underestimated them again," he said, his voice filled with anger. "But this time, it's not just their weapons or strategy. It's their resolve. Humanity doesn't break." Ambassador Thraxel snarled. "So, what are you suggesting? Surrender?" Sarek's eyes burned with determination. "No, I'm suggesting we prepare for the inevitable. They're coming for us. And if we don't adapt, the Council will fall." Back on the Leviathan, Ethan Carter stood on the observation deck, staring into the void. Mira approached, her expression questioning. "Do you think they'll stop after this?" she asked. Ethan's voice was calm but resolute. "No, but neither will we. Humanity had turned the Council's trap into a decisive victory, but everyone knew the final confrontation was drawing near. The galaxy's balance of power was shifting, and the war was entering its final phase. Retaliation complete. The Galactic Council was on its knees. What remained of their fleets scattered into the dark corners of the galaxy, retreating to fortified worlds in a desperate bid to survive. Humanity's relentless campaign had dismantled their alliances, shattered their fleets, and broken their confidence. Yet even in the face of defeat, the Council refused to surrender outright. They placed all their hopes on a final stand, a fortress world hidden deep within uncharted space, known as Haven Prime. On board the Leviathan, Captain Ethan Carter reviewed intelligence from defectors who had abandoned the Council. Haven Prime was more than just a fortress. It was the Council's heart, housing their leaders, their archives, and the infrastructure of their power. If Haven Prime fell, so would the Galactic Council. Admiral Marcus Drake's voice came through the ship's comm system. "Ethan, this is it. The final push. If we take Haven Prime, the war ends." Ethan nodded, his gaze locked on the holographic map of the fortress world. "What kind of resistance are we expecting?" Dr. Alina Patel's voice joined the call. "Everything they have. Reports indicate they've activated experimental weaponry and fortified the planet with defense grids powered by an artificial star. It's designed to repel entire fleets." Ethan smirked. "Good. Let's give them something worth repelling." The human fleet gathered at the edge of uncharted space, a coalition of Earth's finest warships, stealth corvettes, and the unstoppable Leviathan. The mood was tense but resolute. On every ship, soldiers and crew knew this was more than a mission. It was the culmination of years of sacrifice and struggle. Mira, now a key member of Ethan's bridge crew, approached him as they prepared for the assault. "Do you think they'll surrender if we breach their defenses?" Ethan shook his head. "No, surrender isn't in their nature. But survival, that's different. We're going to make them understand that fighting us only guarantees their extinction." As the fleet entered the Haven Prime system, the Council's defenses came to life. Massive cannons powered by the artificial star fired streams of plasma across the void, forcing humanity's ships to break formation. Swarms of automated drones and interceptors launched from the planet, their sheer numbers overwhelming traditional tactics. The Leviathan surged ahead, its quantum shields absorbing the brunt of the assault. On the bridge, Ethan issued rapid commands. "Mira, activate the gravity well disruptors. Neutralize those drones." A pulse rippled from the Leviathan, dragging the drones into a gravitational trap that crushed them into harmless debris. The human fleet pushed forward, but the Council's defenses were relentless. Every inch of progress came with heavy resistance. Inside the command center of Haven Prime, Commander Sarek stood at the helm, directing the Council's forces. Unlike the others, he didn't mock humanity or underestimate their resolve. He knew this battle wasn't just about survival, it was about legacy. "If we hold here, we preserve the Council's existence," Sarek said to his officers. "If we fail, we become a cautionary tale for the rest of the galaxy." As the battle raged on, Ethan realized the key to victory wasn't brute force, it was precision. He called a war council with Admiral Drake and Dr. Patel. "They've built their entire defense grid around that artificial star," Ethan explained. "If we take it out, the entire system collapses." Drake frowned. "If it's destabilized, it could go nova. We'd be caught in the blast." Ethan's gaze hardened. "Then we do it surgically. The Leviathan can deploy a strike team to disable the star's containment core. Once the defenses are down, the fleet can finish the job." The strike team launched from the Leviathan under heavy fire, navigating a maze of orbital platforms and automated defenses. Ethan led the team personally, his experience from Kepler 22 bits driving him forward. Mira, refusing to stay behind, was by his side. The team infiltrated the containment facility, weaving through corridors of pulsating energy conduits. Alien engineers and guards tried to stop them, but the humans were relentless. Finally, they reached the core, a swirling sphere of raw stellar energy held in place by magnetic fields. "This is it," Ethan said, setting up the charges. "Once this goes, their defenses fall." Mira glanced at him. "And so might we." Ethan grinned. "Then we make it worth it." Back in space, the Leviathan held the line against a desperate counterattack. Council ships threw themselves at the human fleet, but Earth's forces held strong, their unity unshakable. The moment the containment core detonated, the artificial star destabilized, sending shockwaves across the system. The Council's defense grid flickered and died, their once impenetrable fortress now exposed. The human fleet surged forward, unleashing a final barrage of devastating firepower. Haven Prime's defenses crumbled, its surface engulfed in flames. Inside the council chamber, Sarek stood amidst the chaos. Council leaders shouted over one another, some demanding surrender, others calling for a final stand. Sarek silenced them with a single command. "Enough. This is over. Humanity has proven their strength, their resolve. We must adapt, or perish." Ethan returned to the Leviathan, his team battered but alive. The battle was won, and Haven Prime lay in ruins. Humanity's retaliation was complete. As the galaxy processed the fallout, a message was broadcast from Earth to every corner of space. "We sought peace, but you brought war to our doorstep. Let this be a lesson. Humanity will not bow, and we will not break. The galaxy belongs to all of us. Remember that." The Galactic Council was no more, their authority shattered. In its place, humanity emerged as a force of unity and strength, their resilience a beacon for oppressed species everywhere. The war was over, but the legacy of humanity's retaliation would echo through the stars for generations.